First time together. Good afternoon. I would like to call to order the meeting of our ad hoc committee on board professional development. This is our third session, and we do have a quorum, so we are ready to get started. As a reminder, the purpose of this ad hoc committee is to develop a professional development plan that enhances the board's ability to improve student outcomes by deeply understanding and engaging our diverse communities. And it's also really to provide a sense of level setting for our work ahead. So I will turn it over to staff.
Thank you, ma'am. As you stated before, this is a continuation and this is the third session. So our desired outcome today is really to finalize Goal 1 with regards to the language, draft the learning plan and create a tool to organize research and review the community mapping initiative. And so I know Dr. Leanne Alford-Keith and Ms. Mary Bohr, and then you will hear from Dr. Sturdivant as well. They will be guiding you and leading you in this work. And so I will turn it over to Dr. Alford-Keith to get us started.
Hi everyone, glad to be here with you. As a reminder, we are creating these goals for the board's new professional development plan template. At the retreat, you reviewed your guiding principles that you see at the top of that template. And Ms. Bohr, if you don't mind clicking over and kind of walking through that so that everyone is reviewed on where we're going, that's perfect. So this is our first goal that we are going to set collectively today, and then we will give you follow-up opportunities to create your second goals, which will be individualized, and then we will also do some brainstorming today for activities that could support the learning plan as it relates to Goal 1. This is very similar to the PDP template that is completed by all of the district leaders and many of the teachers as well. So in choosing to go this route, the board is aligning to the way that goals are set for professional development for staffs. Any questions about that before we get started on Goal 1 language? Or insights you'd like to add about that process? All right, ready to go. Oh, Mary, you might have to click because now the... Thank you. So you will recall that we left off in the work session in December with the language at the top. We had some additional input from board members after that session, and overall the discussion at the table was that we had some of the right elements, but it was feeling kind of unwieldy. It was too long to really feel like the focused goal. So we did take some of the suggestions that we got and are bringing you a proposed update. We will take time to wordsmith this update as needed. Ms. Bohr is ready to type away so we can make live edits for you if, I'm assuming, not if, with any changes that you would like to make. But certainly we don't expect that we captured everything, but hopefully we got it to a better place in narrowing down. Can you zoom in a little for us? Yeah, that's better. So I'll pause and give you a minute to read what we had in December and then also read the proposed update.
I like it being more succinct. It makes a lot more cohesive in sense. Yeah, so
Thank you.
Yeah, I like it a lot more. Really, my only comment is that I'm worried about the measurable piece, because understanding is not extremely measurable. I think using the word identifying, we'd come up with a list of partnerships or a list of community assets that we would have at the end of this that we're going to move forward with. So that might be more measurable than understanding.
So I wasn't here for the December meeting, but I don't understand the goal.
Okay. Sorry. The goal of what we're doing, or goal of?
Specifically, let me walk you through it.
Okay.
So as I read this and I break it down into pieces, board members will, that's the who, increase their understanding, to the point that you raised, that's kind of a difficult measurable, increase understanding of effective partnerships. Okay? So it's increasing understanding of partnerships. It's not increasing awareness of partnerships. It's not engaging partnerships. It's increasing understanding of these partnerships that are out there. And then to leverage community assets, I'm not sure I understand what community assets are, how that's defined. But then it's leveraging community assets for two purposes: improve student achievement and fiscal responsibility, which I can follow, but then measured by partnership outcomes. And I don't know what partnership outcomes are, so that's where I'm having some trouble.
That's what my question is I have questions about the partnership outcomes. If we could say more about that, and like what is the thinking behind, like, how do we measure, like, how do we measure partnership outcomes? Like, what are the outcomes? Do we know the outcomes? Are they outcomes that we set, or outcomes that the partnership set?
So before we move forward on that, one of the things that, and I might be totally wrong about this, but one of the things that helped me wrap my brain around this was that this is supposed to be a professional development goal. It's not something that the board is supposed to achieve, in a way that other goals might be. It's how we become better at doing this. And so I agree that partnership outcomes might need to be a little clearer, but I think that this is where, we have to allow room for conferences and for different investigations and research. And I wouldn't want to nail down like what those assets and what those partnerships would do so much, because I think that's step
Right.
2.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you have a thought?
I do. So I had to read it several times, because knowing our intent and what the purpose is, and reading it, I didn't think it was coming across the way, and I know it's a lot of information to kind of put into like one specific goal, but I didn't think it was really getting to the purpose and the goal that we want to achieve. Like, it's not, I love the fact that the student improvement and fiscal responsibility is in there. So it kind of makes it a little bit more specific at what we're zoning in on. I had the same question about the partnership outcomes, like, because it's really our outcome through using the partnership. So we're not really like measuring them. We're just trying to figure out, what are we missing? What can we pull in to help with the resources we need to achieve the student achievement and fiscal responsibility part? So it wasn't reading to me what I thought in my head we were trying to do, if that makes sense.
So I have some ideas maybe on some clarity, but I still need some answers to my question. It's about what are community assets, and do we have a definition of partnerships or partnership outcomes?
Okay, I am going to ask that you all provide your input before I provide mine. But I can't answer those questions, but those partnership outcomes I would just say we did define it a little bit more clearly according to this conversation, like you all said. But community assets was the original language. So does someone want to recap our December conversations for Mr. Haggerty?
So I think in talking about community assets, I think our overall thought was utilizing the resources that are available in communities, in diverse communities, to ultimately like engage with them to improve the student outcomes of different schools. So,
Like the mapping initiative.
right, like the mapping initiative.
So are they the same thing as the partnerships? Or are they the parties with whom we'd have the partnerships?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
okay.
And you said resources, so I would offer to the group maybe community resources for improved student achievement might be more clear than community assets.
Say it again.
Community resources, so effective partnerships to leverage community resources for improved student achievement and fiscal responsibility may be more clear than community assets.
I agree with that.
It is more tangible, yes.
Okay, I'll make that change.
I mean, oh, go ahead.
Okay.
I say, are resource, again, resources, are we really just talking about organizations? Or is there something beyond that, other kinds of
Businesses?
assets or resources?
Yeah.
Well, businesses would be organizations.
That's where I think I was trying to, where I was going is,
Mhm.
sometimes if you know what your goal is and who you're trying to reach,
Yeah.
you could come back and redefine it where I feel like we're trying to define it and then label what we're going to be going after. So,
I just don't want to limit it to organizations. 'Cause
No, I
it could also
don't
be
either.
grants, it could also be,
Right.
you know, things that the town already owns, it could, or the city or county already owns, you know, that kind of thing.
I think reflecting with our municipalities and our communities to know what's available can help us shape that first. Does that make sense?
So maybe it's important to keep it vague right now.
Yeah, because I also don't want us to miss that our families are ultimately
Yeah,
assets
absolutely.
and resources.
Yeah.
So are we leveraging through the resources, or are we leveraging through the partnerships?
We're leveraging the resources.
Okay, we're leveraging resources, and then with the partnerships, or with who?
In partnership
In partnership with who?
with whoever is in control of those resources.
Well, see, that's what I'm confused, because we're talking about assets, and then you've defined assets as the people, right? The organizations, the businesses, the families. So then that sounds like the who, but then you brought up the point, well, a grant is a resource, or a program is a resource. So then I'm still just a little confused about, see, what,
I think the general idea is that we're going to get a better sense of what resources are out there. We're going to have a focused effort in making, in trying to fill gaps that we're just not getting funding for.
Right.
So how do we say that simply?
is it limited to things that we can get funding for?
I don't think so.
I
Well,
mean, some of
it
it
is
is not
remote.
funding. Some of it is just pulling in the community to help. It just helps us not spend money
Yeah.
on, from internal, to external, but it's really more what could we pull in that we already have available around us, that partnering with the two entities pulls us together at the same goal, right? So it doesn't necessarily have to cost us money. I mean, pulling in grandparents and, some of the seniors and the stuff that we have in our community, that doesn't cost anything. They're volunteering, but how do we pull them in, with our messaging on how important it is and how they can help, how easy
Well,
it is to
what I
help.
meant though is that, like, the purpose behind this was because we've lost, we're losing so much funding.
Right.
So we're making up the difference.
And I see in the first draft, you identify that. You talk
Right.
about researching effective cost-saving partnerships, and that was kind of removed in
Yeah.
the second half. So I didn't know if that was still a priority, or if that was,
Yeah, that's where we summarized it as fiscal responsibility. We could also be more specific there and say for student achievement and fiscal savings, could be more specific, or we could go back to for student achievement and cost savings.
What if he just said, by December 2026, board members will increase their understanding of how to improve student achievement and increase fiscal responsibility through or by identifying partnerships and community resources? And then, to whatever effect.
Are we trying to increase understanding, or,
See,
I know,
Yeah.
I'm asking, are we trying to increase understanding of the partnerships, or what's available?
I think to also keep in mind that this goal is for us to get professional
Yeah.
development in order to do the thing. So I don't want us to get away from that. Like, this isn't a goal that we're saying we're going to do the thing. This is a goal to say, this is the research that we're going to take on in order to do the thing.
So to make it measurable, could we say that we're going to acquire strategies, perhaps, for how to do this?
I think that's a
yes.
way, yeah. I think the learning goal, and I know I'm talking to professional educators, so don't smack me down if I get it wrong, but is understanding how to do what? How to improve student achievement, how to increase fiscal responsibility. And it's through the partnerships and through the community resources is like sort of the focus. So, our measurables are, did we come back with a strategy? Did you come back with a plan? Did we find some example of something that was out there, or maybe what another community is doing? But then we're focusing it, specifically looking at community resources and, those kinds of partnerships that are out there, as opposed to just like a whole blank slate of looking for these ideas anywhere.
Right. Yeah, I do think strategies kind of like narrows it.
Well, it definitely gives us the measurable piece.
Right.
That's,
Yes.
that is the word that is worrying me.
So, I guess, if what would make me happy would be if we're increasing our understanding, not of effective partnerships, we're increasing our understanding of, ways to improve student achievement or increase fiscal responsibility, and it's through leveraging community resources
There you go.
and partnerships. And then I could
Yeah.
just
That's
understand
much
that,
better.
explain that a lot
No, I think
easier.
that makes a lot of sense.
Rearranging it that way actually says the how, what, and why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also would suggest that we change December to January, just because it sounds like we may need one more meeting before we're able to fully present this to the rest of the board. And so to give us a full year, I would suggest changing it to January.
January 27th?
Or, no, yes, no, yes.
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 Well, we better work quick. So do we want to have this goal like over the next year though, so that by January we start implementing?
I think that's the idea.
I would think so, yeah.
I mean, if you discover something that's great, you can do it immediately, but the goal would be at least by January, right? Yeah. I mean, if you stumble on a good grant, let's go for it,
Okay, so I might have the first part, but I'm not sure I got the second
I
part.
think you said through means.
Instead of by, we will go
Right.
through.
Either by leveraging or through leveraging.
Through leveraging community. Resources.
I'm gonna is it okay if I get rid of this top part, just so we have more room, we can see it?
I think so, because we can see it.
Yes.
Okay, through leveraging community resources.
And partnerships?
Yes.
And
And Dr. Job had also mentioned acquiring strategies. I wonder, is that in place of increased understanding?
Yes, for me, that was my.
Or would it go where it measured by, or would it go at the end? Measured by, I don't know, increased partnership, or no, increased.
Well, I don't know how you would acquire strategies without increasing understanding. Like, I think increasing understanding is implicit in acquiring strategies.
Okay, so you're saying,
So it'd be board members will acquire strategies to increase student achievement.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, more than just understanding.
It'll pop up.
Move it down a little bit.
If you kind of scroll, it should go up.
It's staying there no matter what.
Go off of it for a
That's
second
okay,
and
we
then
can-
try and
we can
move it
get there
down.
anyway. Okay. You said board members will acquire strategies. And then get,
To increase. It would just go straight to
To-
increase.
Yeah.
increase student achievement.
Yep.
Yep, got it. Student achievement and fiscal responsibility through leveraging community resources and partnerships.
Mm-hmm.
If you click outside the box, the probably will pull it down a little. And then that little thing disappears.
And then I guess measured by,
As measured by a list of,
I mean, it is measured by the list. It's up to you whether or not you feel that needs to be
It's kind of self-evident.
explicit.
You know?
I mean, we already have measures about student achievement, right?
And if what we're measuring here is, did we identify those strategies, did we acquire new strategies? That's really what you're measuring. Did the courses, the webinars, the conferences you attend produce anything?
Would we want to put the word measuring after the word through? Because that's basically what leveraging the community resources and partnerships is giving us all the information so that we can figure out what we have. So fiscal responsibility through measuring leveraging community resources and partnerships.
Well, it's not necessarily that you're measuring the community resources and partnerships that you identified. It's kind of more like measuring the ones you used or measuring like what you found out.
So what's the top part missing in what we need?
I believe the question is whether the measurement is specific enough.
Or is it just implied in what you have already?
I think it's implied, that if we can name those strategies, that is a measurable thing.
Would we like to continue to look at some of the draft learning plan and a resource that we propose to support that, and then maybe circle back to the goals?
yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, because it's duplicated. Yeah.
Okay, so these are some suggested strategies that we were thinking of based on our conversation around the goal language. So we were thinking that you would want to review the purpose, scope, and how to use the community mapping initiative that came up in our discussion in the work session. We've got it on the agenda today. Not that today would be the last time, but it certainly would be a helpful action step in your learning plan. We would also propose that you use a common template or tool to map the assets. We're going to share that with you shortly, but that would allow you to examine different models, either assets, resources within our community or in similar districts or other communities, which was part of the discussion last time as well. From that, you could also document input that you hear from school leaders or community partners, because that is also a way of learning, is engaging in all of those conversations that you all do when you're out in community. And then also identify which partnerships have demonstrated impact on student achievement or fiscal savings as well. And then a final step would be that you would share those findings and recommendations with one another and also with district leadership, right? You're developing, you're collecting those resources, and then you would want to share with one another what you've found out and kind of take it from there of what should be done. So those are ideas that we had for collective action steps. Of course, as you know, you will all have your own individual action steps as well. Some of you will attend community gatherings in your communities that will fit this. Some of you will attend different conferences that will fit this. Some of you might do online learning on something that like community assets. So any of those could be included as well. But are there other suggestions or ideas for collective group action steps in the learning plan?
So I'm obviously the newest person in the room, so I might be saying something you all already know, but do you think it's important that we get some sort of education on what is even legal to accept from the community? Like, for example, in my orientation, I learned we have 2 plumbers, for Wake County. Like, if we found like a plumbing company that was willing to like have somebody come volunteer, is that a thing we're allowed to do? Is it, what kind of things are we allowed to accept and what are we not allowed to accept? Do we need education on that?
So what I'm hearing is adding something to the plan about providing like a basic orientation to our available resources and, I don't know what you call it, like regulatory limits. Or
policy, on accepting
Yeah.
resources.
I think that
into
would
the
be
district.
great, because you're brand new,
Yeah.
8 years, and it's still a question that comes up.
Mm-hmm.
And no one, you can go and you can ask staff sort of one-on-one about the specifics of a particular offer, but if we could all get in one place at one time, that kind of orientation, that'd be really helpful.
I think it's definitely good to have like even a refresher on things that we have talked about, or even just to address how do we want to go forward. Just for a perfect example, I had a field hockey mom come to me and say that she's been doing it because they didn't have a position and she just wanted to help out and she just wants to be the coach, so she knows that she's got a set role and where did she fit with that, and we didn't really have a policy. So it's good to just like kind of bring it all back and let's talk about it, since it is purposeful here with our resources.
Well, it seems like it's a great place to start a learning plan with actual learning about here's what we know instead of that baseline.
So would we have that in policy or in here?
I think in here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's also useful to know, I think some people are just reticent about offering or accepting help because I don't know if I'm going to get in trouble, right? So it's better to have a better understanding of what is acceptable, what is not acceptable, so that we can go forward with it. Yeah.
I think it'll also help us reach out to families and partners as we're discovering like the language and how we're going to put it out there, that it's another way for us to reach out to people where they may not have thought. When we did the angel funds, and we had that whole discussion about it, we had somebody reach out and say, I would love to be able to help you to do that. How do I get started? Like they just didn't know until they heard. So it's a good way for us to do that.
Ms. Ford, do you mind editing? Let's add one. I'm going to propose some language, and you all let me know if it captures it accurately. But I was going to say that you would explore current policy and regulatory limits around community supports.
Yeah, it seems like you could add like some sort of qualifier, descriptive description before community supports. But why limit it if you just leave it as is? It's broader and potentially gives you more flexibility. Well, now there is some word
Yeah.
language missing there.
So current policy and regulatory, and I said limits, but let's actually say requirements instead of limits. Around community supports.
And if there's any kind of prioritization, it seems like that, you'd want to have that as your first step, right?
Are you suggesting that as an element within this action or an additional action?
Well, if that's the draft learning plan and you've got 4 bullet points,
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a priority. Is that a sequence to the plan? Is that, like chronologically, or is it just, alphabetical or how they ended up there?
We were imagining this as chronological,
Okay.
and I do think it would be that second action because it would be the next action after what
Okay.
we're gonna do some of the work around the first one today.
Okay.
So it would be chronological.
Okay.
I think this looks good.
The next thing we have for you is to look at what that common template could be, and we can suggest some upgrades there. And so here we've drafted what one would be like that we would normally build for our teachers or our teams. So again, thinking of if we had a shared professional development goal, this is what we would build. This is a Google spreadsheet, so you could all enter documents into that same sheet and be able to add things there and then see what one another is adding, ask a question, maybe you both come across the same community resource and you're able to follow up with one another, or there's a contact and you're like, oh, I know that person, so I would be able to reach out to them. Generally connecting it in one place can be helpful and promoting that overall shared understanding. Ms. Moore, do you mind clicking out so we can view the whole thing?
Like this, you mean?
I believe if you click on the photo, we would be able to get to the spreadsheet. Yeah, nice. So we will update that. We have the goal at the top. We will update that with our finalized language from today. But then you'll be able to see which of the board members was making that note, what is the resource or initiative that they came across. Context is a drop-down list. We were thinking, is this something local? Is this something statewide? Is this something national? You might want to sort, at some point and look at local ones or national models or whatever, so that would allow that. Then you would give a brief summary of the work that is an overview. Where is it? Those types of things. The contact name, if available. If you're hearing about something national, you may not have it, but if it's there, you could add it. Same thing with the email address or the number. Cost, that would be, sometimes this is a great resource. We would need to invest this much to get it started, or it could potentially save us this much. That could really be cost or cost savings. Evidence of impact, anything that is shared there around the student achievement outcomes that the resource has seen, and then any additional notes or follow-ups or findings. So if Ms. Caulfield hears about something and then Dr. Ng hears about the same thing, he could even add follow-up in that column or create another entry. Either would be good, but just allow you to see what one another is coming across.
So the cost is the cost of whatever the innovation or the resource is, not the cost of the professional development opportunity.
Right, yes. This would be when you go to a professional development opportunity, you could put some notes in there about what you learned.
Okay, and it's best efforts.
Yes, that's right, exactly.
You know, you got stuff all the time that if we're supposed to log this, it's only going to be as effective as we are in terms of our dedication. And, you know, you go to a webinar, you might hear some of these things, you might not, but if you go just to a school and visit a program, you might not get someone's email address. You might get the name of the school, or you might get something like that. But, you know, I guess it's better to put in what you know than be, you know, like, well, I didn't put anything because I didn't have it completed.
So this is the report back tool, so as much information as we can do. Should we put, could you scroll left, please? Should we put the word strategies, should we say resource initiative or strategy, just to keep the language aligned?
Yes.
We'll change that light blue box to whatever.
No, the dark blue box.
Okay,
Name of resource.
Resource.
Strategy or initiative?
Yes.
All three?
Yes.
Yeah.
Am I getting too ahead of myself by asking, what is the plan for check-ins on this document? Like, or are we just,
We would ask what you would like.
okay.
But yes, it would make sense, and we had that as the third action step, but we did not assign a frequency to it. So that would be for you all to determine whatever you think is best. Technically, you meet your goal by taking notes for a year and coming back to it, but it could be a good idea to say, we're going to circle back quarterly, we're going to circle back in June, you know, something midpoint, whatever you think is best.
Well, to that point, you know, it's one thing that some districts do is anytime like the district spends money for professional development, you attend a webinar, you go to a conference, the board members then report back, usually as part of their board comments or something else. We've never really done that here, but this would at least be something like that. If you don't report back in person, you're at least reporting back in this Google Doc that's shared so people can see it, and it sort of justifies that the trip was a real trip and you went, you learned something. I mean, I like it.
Let's go ahead and adjust that one column H, cost or cost savings. You know, a program might be an investment or, you know, in alignment with a goal, it might be a potential cost savings.
I'm going to challenge you just a little.
Sure.
Do you think those should be two separate columns? Like we should set aside whether there's going to be a cost to doing the initiative, and also we should have some sort of idea what the savings to the district would be, so that way we're not, or that way we have a good idea of like if we choose this initiative, what's the investment of time versus what we're actually getting out of it.
Sure.
So rather than just like the net benefit, it's this is what you need to set it up and go.
Right.
But then here's what.
Here's what you can save down the road.
Yeah, yeah.
So this tool, is your intent to have our fellow board members be able to review that? Okay. I think, I was wondering whether, you know, we could have a way to just like thumbs up certain ideas that are listed, so that it would be, get it on people's radar.
I know
faster.
on Google Docs, you can just like add comments and even thumbs up and things like that. Can you do that on Sheets?
You can. They're a little harder to see.
Put a drop down like a 1 to 5 or something like that.
We could add something like that. That would be up for you all to decide whether this is when you want it to be actionable. And that goes back to Ms. Gordon's question about when we all check up on it. We were envisioning you would have a conversation, that you would say, this and this look really promising, and decide a next step from it. But it wouldn't have to be that way. It could be something that is more asynchronous in responding that, which is where your suggestion is coming from. So that either would work well, or would be whichever y'all think is best for kind of moving to the next step of learning to doing.
I guess my question in adding, I think I was thinking more of the discussion piece when we did the check-ins for, like, evaluating the information that we're putting on this tool. My question for, like, either the +1 or the thumbs up would be, does that mean that we are constantly, as individually, are we constantly reviewing this tool? And are we going to hold ourselves accountable by actually, like, if Ms. Caulfield puts something in there, do I need to make sure that I go back and look at what she's putting? I'm wondering if putting the thumbs up or the +1s, how does that coincide with the frequency of how we look at this?
Plus also, if we're using this as a measuring tool well, to measure our goal is the ultimate at the end, right? So to do that as we're going along, kind of make sure that we're all, one, not only on the same page and going in the same momentum, right, with what we're finding, but also if we find something along the way, we don't have to wait, right? We can start figuring out how to implement it and just have it be a fluid thing that we speak about throughout the year, right? I'm assuming that's what we're trying to do.
But we're not at the step of implementing anything, right? We're just researching.
Yeah.
Right.
So let me tell you how, like, I could see the value to it. By having something like that, it can really assist, like, board leadership and agenda setting. So if you're looking and you're trying to plan out the year and what comes to work session or what comes to committees, let's say, you went to a conference in Nashville and they had something where they had, all the schools had free before care, right? And it was expensive, but those kids, by getting there, having a chance to, be fed and relax before they started school, they noted, like, real academic gains. And then you put that in there, and then, Dr. Ng sees it, he thumbs up, Ms. Caulfield sees it, she thumbs up. Then when your chair is sort of looking at things that come up, like, I went to something and it was about recycling old milk cartons and no one cared, right? But like that early childhood thing had a lot of interest, then it would be something that, we should really bring that to a committee, or we should really bring that to work session because we have enough people that are interested in it. So it's taking that professional development, the trip you went on, and then it's sort of like taking the next step, and now it's more development for the entire board. The entire board has seen this as something they'd like to learn more about. And then staff would put together, like, well, we talked to people in Nashville and this is what we learned, or we bring in somebody from Nashville or that program, or maybe they've had a published report. Or somehow it kind of, as opposed to like we went the whole year and then we come back and look at stuff, kind of seeing it through the year helps you maybe prioritize.
Kind of work out the kinks as you go along,
Yeah.
but also be able to take advantage of the things that we learned. And we would be able to reflect even further, not just having the information at the end of a year, but we would reflect even further on the impact that it had.
Right. I understand, I understand that example, but I would also suggest that we don't wait a complete year to have a discussion about the resources
Yeah.
that we're listing.
Yeah, that's why I was thinking, having that, some kind of a evaluation, if we're going to be responsible for, following up on somebody's submission, to rate it, so that we can have, like, real-time, opinions from the board.
We can certainly, we'll have to research a little bit the most efficient way to do that, but we can certainly include
But
something.
that would require us to be responsible for following up on
Right.
anybody's submissions, right?
Right,
That
yeah.
goes to your point.
So are we going to review them like monthly or quarterly? How?
I think that's for us to decide.
Yeah. Now, I think if you had something where people would provide their feedback, then I think like we can all look at it at any time. But then it's also then on leadership, they can. We should really do something about this. And, you know, the other thing is that, you know, they talk about like the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Sometimes you can have like one person who's like, we've got to talk about therapy dogs. You got to talk about therapy dogs. You got to talk about therapy. Okay, let's have something on. And maybe nobody else on the board cares or has prioritized that. But this is a good way that everyone can kind of see. Because, you know, like if I'm the chair and Dr. Jobe calls me, Dr. Ng doesn't know that Dr. Jobe called me. And so he doesn't know the idea she had. Is it something he's interested in? Is he completely uninterested in it, right? But this sort of puts more of that thinking into a collaborative environment. And you can actually kind of go forward with a better measurement of what the whole board's interested in.
Being that it's asynchronous, you know, you're not violating any open meeting problems, right? So
I think that's right. Now, if you were leaving comments or like big discussion, our can put in the ideas that they have, rank them up or down, could be a way to achieve that.
Yeah, because you get a little bit more than just a number. You get a little thought behind it, which is really the conversation that needs to happen, right?
Or it could like link to thought exchange, where you could do that. Again, it's a good point you raised about the open meetings laws, and the attorneys are very conservative as to like what constitutes a meeting, right? But I think we can find a way around it.
I would expect that, I'm thinking of the correct technical way, this will be a public record. So I'm wondering about like the contact email address and number is certainly helpful. But in that may not be appropriate to list there. You might need to consult about that because, you know, that's a good point to follow up on.
Yeah.
It's most helpful, they can be included, but I wonder if we have some way to include it for you all, but redact it publicly.
I mean,
So I know if you're using Excel, you could actually hide columns so that information is not, you know, being out to public. You might be able to do that, yeah.
Yes, we will have to consult with tech services, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah, I think this will prove to be a very useful tool.
So in engaging asynchronously, what would be the frequency of the conversation that you would like to have synchronously? Like how often would you want to bring it to the table and talk about what's there?
I mean, you can set aspirational goals, but like realistically, we're going to have a lot of other things to talk about, which is why I really love the asynchronous aspect. If people check it on their own time, you might just check it on a whim, or you might be like very ordered and say, I'm going to check it every Tuesday before committee meetings or before a board meeting. Maybe you're just checking it once a week. But so long as people are checking it with whatever regularity, when something maybe gets 4 or 5 thumbs up, it should be, you know, the leadership. Whether it's a community engagement meeting, whether it's a student achievement meeting, whatever, you know, really, wherever that partnership, that asset really fits, or it could be a work session, would probably be the best venue. And I would just, you know, I think, you know, if you want like a regular check-in on it, I don't think you need to do it more than quarterly. I think that'd be too ambitious.
Yeah, I think my initial thoughts were the same way that we hold our educators accountable for checking in on their PDPs. which is what, mid-year, end of year?
Mid-year, beginning of year, mid-year, end of year.
Because my other concern is that, especially for doing professional development, I mean, some of our professional development might, not happen for a couple of months. And so to have a meeting just to have it seems.
And then sometimes it'll, like, all kind of bubble up at the same time. Or sometimes it might be a few things at the beginning of the year, like take AI. Like, I know some of us have been to different conferences, different webinars about AI, but they haven't all necessarily been the same time. But collectively over the year, I think you'd see half the board had taken some professional development interest in that topic, right? And so by collecting it in one place, you can see it sort of rise to the top. So then when you do that check-in mid-year, end of year, you can say, hey, you know what? Let's go back and take a closer look at this issue.
So you're saying to only meet mid-year, to review what we've got so far, to only do that mid-year instead of quarterly?
That's my initial thought. I think I was thinking along the same lines as Dr. Job, like in thinking about like big professional development, like conferences and things like that. They're only offered at one time in the year. So if there's not a lot of stuff, a lot of resources that we've listed on this tool by, let's say, the first quarter, there wouldn't really be a need to meet.
Yeah, I think we should probably look at our calendar to see when in our year is actually a breathing space that we can actually, spend some time really thinking about these, because I think like in our budget time, it's like, that's going to be eclipsing, a lot of other ideas.
Well, I know that a lot of the educational associations will typically have, their big annual conferences in the fall. And so, depending on what people want to do around like retreats or things like that, that November, December time period, could be a way to say, all right, what have we learned? What do we want to plan going into the next year? So if you're looking for a time of year, there will still be other event, like the School Board Association has a law conference. I know that you've gone to or participated in it. I participated in it. There's great stuff that's in the spring. And so you'd hate to have to like wait all the way until November or December to talk about it. But at the same time, we know that like most everybody goes to the School Board Association meeting, and you could get like 5 or 6 different topics at that meeting that you'd have things that you might want to come back and share. Like I've gone and we've, like the ideas that we've talked about with workforce housing, with AI in terms of like potential, like how students can weaponize it against other students, and how do you look at, I'm blanking on the words, the AI generated like texts or bullying, the cyberbullying around it. But then they've had, things on micro-tutoring and so many other topics. It's sort of like a big burst at once, but that's where I think a lot of ideas will come in there. But then I also know that there's going to be other opportunities through the year, so.
So at the very least would be like kind of following up after a major meeting.
Yeah.
In the spring and the fall, something like that.
Or if you know that a lot of the educational opportunities are spring and fall, then the best time to check in would seem to be summer and winter, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, if the board wants to do retreats in July when things are, maybe calmer and we don't have as many meetings, that could be a time to check on everything from like midwinter through spring, and then at the end of year, that would be a time to check in after some of those large conferences.
So I'm thinking like how it goes into implementation to affect our students, right? So, and I guess I'm just trying to understand, we're trying to gather this information on this chart to see what it is that we can, what's out there, right? And if we wait until mid-year, what are you thinking, like what month?
So wait, just if I can, I want to. There's 2 different sides to it,
Okay.
and I want to make sure, because like when you said, if we just wait till the end of the year, if it's asynchronous and it's all year round, then if something gets like 4 or 5 thumbs up, that's a clue that we need to look at it immediately, not wait till the end of the year. But then the end of the year is when we would go back and review sort of everything, is what I was thinking.
Right, because you'll respond, you'll ask that leadership respond and schedule the things that seem to have energy in the asynchronous review. And then, basically, twice a year, you would look back to see, did we miss something? That now seems like a really good idea. Like, it wasn't on my mind when Dr. Job shared it in April, but now it is. So let's all review together at the table. Or maybe somebody wrote something up, and in the way they shared it, it wasn't as compelling in getting the thumbs up, but when they're able to speak to it at the table, it's like, oh, that is a really good idea. So it's more like the reviews of bringing everything to the table is a way to sort of have a second check on the asynchronous. I believe that's how I'm hearing it. You all confirm.
I agree.
Okay. I think I'm just a little bit confused, so if you could just clarify. So the whole purpose of this is professional development for the board, right? So when I think of professional development, you go in, somebody gives you, like, here's all the information, so you understand, you learn, you walk out with something. So that's great, because it's kind of like giving you something you didn't have before. You're actually all putting this information in, providing the input so that we can, the goal would be connect all the dots and work with our partnerships so that it could help our children. I understand that correctly. So I don't know that I guess I'm getting confused. Maybe I'm throwing myself off with the word professional development because we're the ones who are putting all the data in. It's more of a utilization tool. Like
We're showing our learning. Like, you know how you said professional development, you go in, you come out, you walk away with something. The thing you walk away with is what you put in the tool. So we're still getting the professional development, but this is just a way of showing our learning. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so you're able to learn from one another's professional development also. So you didn't have to attend that same thing to benefit from the takeaway. And then that's where it would transition once things get energy and you all reviewing on your own time. That's where it would transition to the appropriate place to have the conversation, be it student achievement, be it facilities, be like wherever that place is, leadership would put it in the correct context to discuss it in more detail and how it could be incorporated and kind of brought into implementation, which I think is the second part behind your question.
Right, Ms. Caulfield, are you referring to like the impact? Like how are we actually taking this in ways where we can actually like implement it and impact?
Right. Yeah. So I guess the word professional development for me is just kind of throwing me off because I feel like the goal is that the impact, right? All of this so that we can learn how we can shape our policies and things that we do around the impact.
That's the overall, like,
Right.
big goal, but
Yes.
the goal is really the professional development.
Okay.
I see it almost as two parts, like it's two different goals, right? This is the goal about, you're going to learn about it in order to create the goal where you're going to use it to impact something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we want to translate that professional development that we are seeking into something that's actionable,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, if you want to think about it this way, you can even think about this as like an accountability tool. You know, if we have the opportunity as board members to go off and attend these conferences where the public is going to pay your travel, your registration fees, all of that, this is a way to collect what was learned and actually show the public benefit for that expenditure. So, you know,
Without all of us going,
without all of us going, or it doesn't even necessarily have to be specific to that. You could go to a school for free and not spend any money, and then see something at a special, like at a unique school that, you know, a principal has pioneered that no one else is doing, that you want to share. I mean, that could still be professional development. But in a lot of ways, it's like, well, you actually went and there was value to it. It wasn't just like a junket. You know, that's what another goal that this can serve.
And I think your conversation about what to do from it will feel more fruitful
Yeah.
when it's not hypothetical.
Yeah, yeah.
And once you're able to pull some of this information together, you won't be imagining the types of things that are there. You will see the types of things that are there and be able to decide what to do with them at that point.
I mean, I really like it. I think, like, one of the things I see is, you know, back home, I have a desk that's covered in stuff that I've picked up, files over the years from all of these different opportunities. But if it goes no further than me, how far does it get, right? But if it's up here, and you're like, oh, I'm really interested in this, I'd like to learn more, or, you know, it's forcing me as the board member to, like, reach out and share more about what I did, and you all then can kind of, you know, look and see, is it something you're interested in, either for you to go out and do something similar, or do you want to get, you know, materials that I had? And it makes that educational experience or that investment go further.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great collaboration piece for us to have these conversations. I'm just putting the chart and our time frame to who is in our community and what can they help with. And I'm thinking about the timing, that's all. So I'm trying to understand, like, back to like our goal and how we were trying to reshape it into what we were actually trying to say. Like, I see this chart and it's ongoing, and you're right, you know, 5 thumbs up, whatever it is, it's time to have a conversation about that particular thing. But I don't want it to go so far that we're just going into the chart and we're not paying attention. The whole point is so that it gets down to the student achievement and the goal at hand. That's all.
No, that's a good point, because you have to, if you're just making lists to keep lists.
Right, you're not actually accomplishing the goal.
Yeah.
Well, and I think what's going to tie it together for me too is when we make our individual goals. And then we'll see like what we would put in the chart from that actual individual goal.
Let's circle back to that Goal 1 language now that we've seen the learning plan and the possible measurement. And if you could delete that extra language, I think, off the bottom. Awesome, thank you.
So especially now that I've seen the chart, I think this makes sense.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe we could add like educational opportunities into that. I don't know.
Yeah, I like that.
At the end of the sentence, or?
Yeah, through leveraging community resources, partnerships, and educational opportunities.
Yeah, I like that.
And you mean your professional development opportunities.
We've been discussing it earlier, like the measurement and how we do that based on what they shared in the form. Is that a way to measure it? Like, would you have acquire and document strategies? And then that just makes it part of the goal that, yeah, and then that's how you've measured it. You can go and see what everyone's done.
I like adding document. Board members will acquire and document strategies to increase student achievement.
And I think that educational opportunities at the end really does tie it together very well. Back to the whole professional development focus.
Because the whole point of this was to have the resources outside of, you know, spending money or conserving money, whichever. So there's other opportunities out there to be had. So getting that all together and finding out how we collaborate with those partners is is the key.
I like this. I think it checks all the boxes of it being a SMART goal.
Yeah, I think switching it around, like you mentioned before, really just kind
Yeah, it
of
makes-
shapes the meaning.
Makes a lot of sense.
Great. Okay, so now we'll look at another way that we document those resources. I'm going to invite Dr. Sturdivant up to share with you about the mapping initiative. And this for, if you'll click the 3 dots at the top right, and then present. That'll let the clicker work. Thank you. So this is on the agenda today because this is another way that some of these existing community resources are already documented for you. It could be one of your individual learning plan goals to go through the mapping initiative and make some notes in the spreadsheet up in the note catcher when we get it all ready about, you know, what you're seeing there that you would like to hear more about or take additional advantage of. So Dr. Brooksy Sturdivant, who is our Community Partnerships Coordinator, is here to walk you through what we're seeing so far in the mapping initiative and how you can actually access that tool.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for having me. Super excited to share the updates today and to give you insight as to how this initiative all came about and where we are at this point. We launched this specific initiative April 2024. It's hard to believe we're creeping up on 2 years. The campaign basically announced, hey, put yourself on the map. This was our aim to see who's out there doing what, who's offering what goods and services all across Wake County, just to increase our awareness, similar to what you were saying earlier today. So what I want to do is give you an overview of the initiative. We're also going to give you an opportunity to explore the actual mapping tools, so get your computers ready, and I'll kind of give like a tutorial just to make sure you know how to use it before we dive into that part. Next slide.
Oh, sorry. I didn't hand it to you.
I didn't see it, sorry. Thank you. All right. So, we started this initiative, like I said, with that call to the community. Hey, we really want to know who's out there offering what, so please put yourself on the map. So with that, we were able to design this form that they complete to submit their profile. So ultimately, we were asking them, please submit your organization profile to our mapping initiative. So to access that, and you could actually do this with me if you'd like to take a look at what they actually submit. This is the landing page for our new website. Super excited about that. We do have a partnerships and community tab. So from that tab, you'll get to this landing page. And I'll do a quick plug for our new community newsletter, which is super exciting. That's one way we're communicating out with the organizations who've submitted their profiles. But that's our new landing page. Once you're there, you'll see that blurb. You'll see the yellow box, which is how you can subscribe to the newsletter. And then if you scroll down, you'll see these tile boxes at the bottom. So there are a lot of choices and offerings for multiple types of community partners. So once the partners are on this page, they can explore all of those options, but specifically for the submission form, they would go to community partners. I'll call it a tile. And then once they click that, they'll see insights about the mapping initiative. And then there's that box, put yourself on the map. So that's where you actually click to access that submission form. So it's just like any other application. What's the organization name? How would you classify it? Is it a business, 501c3? Who's the primary contact and their contact information? There's a space for them to give a brief description of the organization. Keywords, because that helps when we're searching in the mapping tool. So things along those lines, they can give us a link to their website, which we actually have on the mapping tool as well. You'll see that in a moment. So they submit that form just like any other application. Once they click submit, I'm able to check that. We do review those and then determine if they'll go on the map. So thinking about what type of organization it is, what good and services being offered, if it's something that's needed for staff, students, as well as families, then that's how they get on the map. So I'll pause, just in case you're looking at the form, you want to ask questions about that, yes.
So you said businesses, but this says if you're a nonprofit organization, religious organization, or private foundation, so are businesses not allowed to be a part of it?
So we do say low-cost goods and services, so if they're offering low-cost goods and services, they can be on the map.
Okay, how would they know that from this page?
I'll take another look.
Okay.
I want to say, I thought that it was in different places. On the form, I'm sure it says.
It definitely says that
It's
on the
definitely
form.
somewhere.
This may be over summarized, so yeah, we can follow up.
Thank you.
Also, do we have, are we able to view who has put themselves on the map already? And do we have visuals specific to our districts? So like, can I go in and just see District 2, who has already put themselves on the map?
So we're going to get to that, and you're able to see, but yes, there are ways to kind of see the area lines, but I've got all the visuals.
I know it'll put the map up and it'll show where everybody is, but before, at least the old version, it didn't necessarily have that district overline. So you could sort of tell, but if it was like really close.
We added it.
Okay.
It's new, and it's there.
New feature, new feature.
Yeah. But back to Dr. Jobe's point, that you understand the question, you know, we want to use this form to collect information, you know, from people that are looking to donate or help or serve. But we want to distinguish that from people that are just soliciting business, you know.
Right.
And if you just open it up and you're not very clear on that language, then everybody that's selling door locks, race boards, you get the emails all the time, right?
Yes, we do.
Whatever they might be, you don't want them flooding and putting themselves on the map that way. So you need to have some sort of conditioner, but for if you have a business or for-profit that would like to contribute something or donate something, they need to kind of know where to do that.
So that it doesn't drown out the effective
Yeah,
pieces that we need.
yeah.
Right, yes, we definitely had a lot of conversation about how to word it. We do want low-cost goods and services, definitely relevant to students and families, but ultimately, we were looking for those that were willing to donate.
Do we evaluate what stays on the page so that we don't have it flooded with that information?
That's correct. So when they submit their profile, it doesn't automatically go on. Like, I literally have to read through what they've submitted, make that determination, and then accept. And then sometimes there's a follow-up, like there's a way that I code each entry. So we can definitely keep the questions coming. I'll kind of continue on because I definitely want to give you time in the map, but by all means, we can continue with questions as needed. So just a little bit of insight as to where we are at this point. We do have 156 partners that have been accepted and that appear on the map. I want to say we've had about 175 actual submissions. So again, with me kind of vetting and verifying, some were not able to be featured on the map. This slide just reflects the wide array of services provided. So as you can see, we've got different programming. A lot of the services definitely use those keywords of free. We've got clothing. We like to look at it as goods and services. So some are related to whatever skills they're trying to build, and then some are related to tangible things that they're actually giving. So just a wide array of offerings and opportunities.
So this is extremely helpful, this chart, because, I mean, you could see like school office supplies, that's kind of lower than some of the, where we'd like it to be and where we could help multilingual services. You know, that's one thing that we talked about, like teaming up with the Y, or, you know, so that we could also team not only with the students, but with the parents, who in turn help their students, right? So this is really helpful because it lets us see where we do have resources and where we need to kind of see where we could pull from to kind of increase it a little bit. That's good.
This next slide gets at the types of organizations. As I mentioned, most are the nonprofits because that was definitely our target. We do have some churches and religious organizations who offer specific services and or goods. So depending on what those are, that's how they're able to get on the map. We do have some coded as low-cost organizations. So if they say other or business, I do try to look at, okay, what are they offering? How are they describing themselves? And then we do have some private foundations who do various drives, and then they give whatever good and service they're specifically focusing on. Then this bottom chart reflects the target audience, because that's one thing we ask, like who do you primarily serve? Because sometimes if you're searching in the database, maybe you're specifically looking for something for the littles or pre-K, or maybe we definitely are looking for something that we need in high school. So you can filter and look that way as well. So this just kind of shows the different ways you can filter, search, and get really specific in the mapping tool.
I have a question.
Yes.
So that top graph with the 501c3 church or religious, those are not mutually exclusive categories, correct? I mean, one organization could fit into several.
That's true. And ultimately, they're submitting their profile, so however they classify their organization is kind of up to them. It probably is based on kind of paperwork and what they offer, and that's mainly what I try to hone in on when I make the decision to accept it or not.
And it does allow them to indicate there are two things. Like they can check both.
Oh, okay.
This next one emphasizes the different service areas. So we definitely had a lot of conversation around this. We wanted to know if they serve specific areas, thinking about their capacity and ability to serve. But we also wanted to know, okay, if you can serve all of Wake, we didn't want to put them through having to click every box there. So I do like to note that there are a lot of organizations that will service all of Wake. So even if you look at a smaller municipality, you can know that, okay, yes, we only have a few that say they specifically serve this area, but wow, all of these others will also serve this area. So I'll give you a moment to take a look there.
Are these chart numbers, are they indicating just an entity? So like when you see 6, it's 6 entities?
6 actually organizations that said we serve this area specifically.
Thank you.
So these are just some of the metrics that we're able to observe rather quickly. There's a dashboard that kind of goes along with the mapping tool that generates this based on those entries. So just thinking about data and things you'd like to measure even later, just know that these numbers are pretty readily available based on those submissions. For this next part, I'll just kind of talk a little bit about how we've been using these entries. So people did put themselves on the map, which is super exciting. That's an ongoing campaign, so we're still encouraging organizations to put themselves on the map. But since they started to put themselves on the map, we are in communication and engaging with the community more. As you know, we do have a community partners advisory called the AAA team. So they meet about 4 times per year and have really deep conversations and gain a lot of insight from our various departments, direct contact with the superintendent, just to kind of stay in the know. We talked a lot about if you don't have a student enrolled, it's kind of hard to know what's going on. So that's kind of our way of being proactive with making sure that these community partners know what we're doing as a district, what's coming up, and how they can help ongoing. We've also launched the newsletter, Community Connections newsletter that I mentioned a little bit earlier, that goes out about once a month and or every other month. Super exciting because, again, that's a way for us to talk to all of the organizations, even beyond just the AAA team. So AAA team definitely has kind of that face-to-face and conversation, but that newsletter is also our way of emphasizing some of those points to the larger community. From that mapping tool, we were able to make some really great connections and do our community tour that happened over the summer. That was us going out into the community, sharing details about our various departments and talking to the families and students directly. So a lot of the backpack giveaways and different events, we were able to showcase the district as a vendor at about 3 or 4 of those stops. And then we have started to put communication behind the ways to engage. So on our website, we made that really clear with those tiles, like showing if you want to do advertising, if you want to partner, if you want to help with internships. So these are the various ways you can engage. That's language and like posters and things that I take when I'm doing vendor events out in the community, just to make sure these organizations realize like there are plenty of ways to help. It's not just about donating money, not just about sending volunteers, but there's so many other options. So just making sure people are clear there. In addition to engaging the community, we're also really working internally to engage the staff. We do a lot of information sessions, just making sure our staff knows about the mapping tool, making sure our staff understands the importance of community partnerships and how to leverage those partnerships and maximize for those outcomes, similar to what you all are saying. I've also developed a partnership toolkit with a lot of resources, email templates, posters, tips for if they want to host vendor events even at their schools. So that partnership toolkit is in Wake Connect for staff to access if they're really wanting to do a deep dive with partnerships. And this last one I'm super excited about, a virtual course. Initially, we were doing a lot of face-to-face PD, 30 minutes here, an hour there with whatever audience we could get, which is exciting, and I love face-to-face, but as you know, that's kind of slow moving when you got this many staff members. So I was able to build a Canvas course for staff to engage that way asynchronously on their own time, and they earn CEUs. So that's a super exciting way for staff to learn all about the mapping tool and to really get some of the research behind the importance of community partnerships.
I got a question for you. With the AAA team, we had recently had a mayor's roundtable. I know in all of our districts, I think they're done now, but when we were speaking with the mayors in our area, we were talking about, well, how are some of the ways that we can partner? And if you don't have a child in the school, you don't receive the newsletters and the information, all the things that we have available. So we were talking about how do we collaborate and get that together, like maybe, I mean, I'll just pick Wake Forest because I just happen to live there, but if we communicate with the town of Wake Forest and they have a tab for, you know, hey, get to know what's going on in your school, excuse me, and then vice versa. We have something in our municipalities or even on our own school page that connects us to the town, because they were saying like they have the availability of leader partnerships, you know, or leader events that happen, seniors, you know, we have chorus. So it's kind of like, I'll just say Reese's Peanut Butter together, like you put them together. So we have the seniors who do all the performance and, you know, through the arts, and we have the seniors that need it. So they but they're also connecting to their community, which makes them feel a little bit more part of the community and purposeful. So it's just an overall picture of how we can help. But when you talked about your AAA team, I was just wondering, with that conversation that we had, is there a way that we can communicate all of these things that we have with them directly so that they actually act together? Does that make sense?
Yes, I think and we do have the brand new community newsletter. I believe 2 have gone out that we are sending to anyone who subscribes to it, to send that information, and it goes once a month as opposed to once a week for parents. But we can certainly partner with the towns in getting out the word to sign up for that community newsletter. That's a great idea.
Right, because
Yeah.
there are plenty of people, and this is what our purpose is to, what's our community partnerships, right?
Yeah.
So if we can get that information out to them, like once the community puts on all of their Facebook pages that we're having a play, all of a sudden everybody starts coming in.
Right.
And it's not just parents, some of the students that are in the play. So I think it's a big collaboration piece. And another question I had, and I don't know if this is possible, but on slide 7, you broke it down with the entities that are in each area. Is there a way for us to get a more in-depth, I don't know if it's possible, but to match with or open up the information that we have on slide 5? Because I think that helps us understand in our community, and if that's what we're doing with this chart that we had in the last section, it may help us understand where we need to concentrate more effort. That's it.
Yes, you'll actually see that when we get to do a demo in just a second, where you can pull that yourself anytime you'd like. Yeah.
I'm going to wait until then, because my question is tied. Yeah.
I'll wait too.
All right, so we can actually go ahead and start to access the map. So I'll kind of give a little overview, make sure you know how to use it, and then that'll give you time to dive in. But to access the map, you do have to be on the Wake County Public Schools network. You go through Wake Connect. So just thinking about that, we can't access it off-site. So that's mainly just to make sure that it's accessible to staff only. So through Wake Connect, on the network, you'll go under Offices and Programs. That column is alphabetized under Community Engagement. Is where you click. Once you're there, you'll get to this landing page. You'll see Resources, Community Partnership Mapping Initiative. So once you're there, you'll click, and it gets you to this landing page, which is where we've outlined some terms of use. This is just to ensure we're not, just making sure that we're mindful of the different policies that relate to this work, and just some reminders, it's for internal use only. Best practices to definitely make sure supervisors are aware of these connections that we're attempting to make. So if you're searching here, you're going to reach out. We're just encouraging staff to make sure, like your principal knows or your department lead knows that you're making this connection and what your ask is.
Sorry, I'm trying to keep up with you on here. It's slow loading. I got to Wake Connect, and where do you go from there?
It'll be under Offices and Programs, so that first column on the left, and it's alphabetized, so kind of scroll to Community Engagement.
Hold on, I'm not getting to that screen from where I am.
Under Workspaces.
As an option.
It's Workspaces.
Okay,
Yes.
sorry.
Yes.
All right, so the arrow threw me. I was trying to get it through the logo.
Oh, yeah, got you.
So yeah, under Workspaces, Offices and Programs.
Okay,
Scroll
yep,
down to
scroll down.
Cities.
All right. This one here?
Mapping initiative.
Yeah, then the Mapping Initiative,
All right.
and then we get to this landing
Where
page.
is it?
And then you click the bar that says your knowledge.
Show me your
That might
screen.
not be. Blue
So the
bar might not,
workspaces?
you might not know.
Yeah,
Got it.
Yeah.
okay. All right.
Okay, so yeah, once they kind of review the terms of use, which again are just those friendly reminders of best practices and things to be mindful of, scrolling down, you get to the blue box, and that's what you click to get into the actual map.
They might want to label that blue bar, just saying. It does look like part of the logo versus, I would want to be clicking on the hyperlinks. Like
Yeah.
here, it doesn't say
Show
to
me.
press the blue bar.
Oh, got it.
Like just to put a
Click to
label
open.
in there,
Mhm.
right.
Click
yeah.
to open. Yeah, I got you.
All right, so once you're there, you'll actually see the map or the mapping tool. There in the center is the actual map, so that gives you that visual, which is what you can manipulate and view. On the left-hand side is where you'll see the filters, which we'll talk about, and then the right-hand side is the actual list of organizations who've submitted their profiles. As far as our different icons, we do have every public library featured, because oftentimes that's definitely a great resource, and we want to know which library is near our school, but we also want to know which library is in close proximity to the different communities. So we know that students come from different locations. So that's one thing I really emphasize during the sessions, paying attention to what's close to the neighborhoods of the students that you serve, as well as what's actually close to the school. And every school has its own icon. If you toggle over those little icons, you can see the name of the school. So you kind of do have to know the vicinity. And then once you're there, you're like, oh, I see 3 schools. Which one is actually mine? And as you toggle over, you'll see the names of the schools. The green icons indicate that, yes, we are accepting new partnerships. And those that are kind of burgundy reddish is no, we're not accepting partnerships at the time. We still wanted those organizations to submit their profiles because things could change, and we also still wanted to communicate with them. Maybe they already are a partner and they're they're at capacity, but they still need to be informed and updated, and we need to be aware of what they're offering. So we didn't want organizations to feel like, oh, if I submit my profile, then I'm going to get 500 calls, and then decide not to submit their profile. We want them to submit it, and they can indicate we're not currently accepting new partnerships.
Dr. Sturman, can you go back to, and restate what you, just restate what you said about the green and the burgundy?
Yes, so green means, yes, we're open to new partnerships, we're putting ourselves on the map, please reach out if you need anything. Burgundy, or the little reddish color, is basically saying, hey, we're out here, we're doing great work, but whoa, we've got a lot going on right now, so we're not accepting new partnerships at the time.
Where would I see a burgundy? I see burgundy on yours, but I don't see burgundy on mine.
So some of the icons, you probably kind of might have to zoom or manipulate the actual map.
And it may be like if you zoomed into your area, and maybe that's not the case for any of the partners near you.
That's true. Maybe
That's just
ours
something
wasn't
they
right.
indicate to us.
Oh.
Like, we're full, or we're accepting new partnerships.
Okay.
So the vast majority are green, but we have found a few partners that asked us for that because they wanted to be on the map, even if they didn't have room on their caseload kind of thing.
Right, and we still wanted to know they existed because of like newsletter communicating out. Like, we still want to know you're out there, maybe you already have 500 people that you're serving, so it's still good to know
Yeah.
that they exist.
I don't see any. Why am I not seeing it? I mean, I definitely don't see any in my district, but I don't see any at all.
I'll
Is it because I don't have the,
Yeah,
Check everything.
it is rare, it is less common.
Yeah, I'll double check, because I mean,
I'm seeing it.
Yeah,
A
see,
few as I'm looking over Mr.
I've
Hagerty's
got one
shoulder.
here in Dr. Ng's district, and then there's one I saw down here in Ms. Gordon's
Oh.
district.
okay, I had a specific service check, that's why.
we
got
gotta
it.
filter out.
Got them back
I'm sorry.
these.
I was like, maybe something changed.
No, now I see burgundy, okay.
Yes. You know, and some partners, only accept applications once a year, or, those types of things. So that's something they let Dr. Sturtevant know,
Okay.
like, how they need to be.
I do have a quick question. I know the implied benefit to these organizations is like, the collaboration piece and the partnership piece, but what other benefits are we communicating, explicitly communicating to these organizations, and what shared leadership opportunities or decision-making opportunities are we offering or sharing with these organizations?
So I would say AAA was the next step. Like, after we did this, it's like, wow, there are a lot of organizations out there. AAA was a step in that direction for the open communication. So that is like an advisory team. This is the second year that they're on board, and there are about 4 to 5 meetings. We share information out, like updates. These are the things we're deciding. This is what we're working on. And then they give input. So they give some feedback that way. Like, even with the newsletter, like, that was one thing, hey, I really want to do this newsletter, so they helped us think about the frequency, who to tap into that would want this type of information when we gave that initial launch for the newsletter. Because we definitely wanted people to subscribe more so than, forced. So they were like, oh, make sure such and such knows so that they can subscribe. So that kind of feedback, things with the learning model, like we wanted the community to understand this is the learning model. Because the thing with these partners is they're already servicing a lot of the families, they're working directly with students. So sometimes the messaging, like we're trying to get out, they can actually help us spread that word. When the family survey goes out, hey, make sure the families know this is how they access it. So we kind of give them that insight, so then they're helping us spread the word that way. So I would say the AAA is the primary way. Then the newsletter was the next step. Let's make sure even beyond AAA, the broader community understands some of these initiatives, next steps, and what's coming up to help us spread the word.
And there are usually feedback opportunities within the newsletter as well, depending on the topics that are covered. So like an upcoming one is we're going to do sort of a mid-cycle strategic plan input, and we're going to send it out. You know, everyone who's on this list is invited to the newsletter, and so we can send it out all to them. Here's this opportunity. Other things are like when we had the summit last year, they were all invited. Do you want to come be part of the showcase of partners at the summit? I anticipate we would probably do that again this year. So those are some of those examples.
So just a little bit more about the mapping tool to give you time to actually dive all the way in. This highlights the lines that you were mentioning. So this is an additional or a new feature since the last time I was able to share with you all. Based on some of that feedback, the map is a powerful thing, and we made that update. So if you'll notice in the right-hand corner, you'll see that little white box with 2 little down arrows that indicates that you can pull that down. From there, there'll be like 3 sheets of paper that looks like layers, because that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to add or see another layer of this map. So you'll click that little layer or 3-sheet icon. From there, you'll get this choice bar, and you'll choose school board districts, I believe is what that says. My eyes are failing. And then that's when you'll be able to see the actual colored lines that indicate those board lines or voting lines is what we call them. So maybe that'll help if you're looking for specific things close to your area.
So the bar on the right-hand side is all of them, correct? And then if you zoom in, you'll find the dot and the title of the entity that's...
Correct. So on the right-hand side, every organization is listed unless you filter. If you do filters, that list on the right-hand side will change just to those organizations you filter for.
But you can do those
Question.
additional layers, is this one?
I mean, just because an organization or entity is geographically located in
Oh, okay, yeah.
that spot,
So
it doesn't mean that they're restricted
I do
to
think that means
that-
it narrowed it here.
that district.
Correct. That's why we were really adamant, like, well, we need to know if they're serving all the way. We don't want to bother an organization if they've been clear, look, we only serve in Zebulon. But if they say they'll serve us all the way, really the proximity is not as important.
Okay.
They'll service wherever we call them, so based on their icon and their entry.
Okay.
So would it be helpful to have
I would also say that you
the
want
dots
this
on
list, and then you
the
also,
screen
in case
a
you want
different
something
color
published that's the whole
for the
district.
ones who are able to serve the entire,
You can narrow it down on the left.
you can?
Yeah, if you just kind of
Service area.
service area.
Yeah, you can do the filtering for that.
Yeah, like I picked Apex, and it
Oh, I
shows several in Apex, but then there's some in like District 6 and 4 that have indicated that they serve Apex as well.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
So yeah, the filtering is definitely one way to narrow it down, or just zooming in, but you definitely raise a good point. Zooming in still doesn't show you the full picture, because there could be some that say they'll still service that area even if they're not located in that area. So you almost have to kind of use both of those approaches when researching.
But now, that's interesting, if I select Raleigh, a bunch of them in Raleigh disappear, as opposed to all of Wake County. So if you're looking for, hey, I'm in Apex, unless they've specifically marked Apex, they're not going to get the ones that have said that they would service all of Wake County, which would include Apex.
Right, so filtering, I would maybe choose all of Wake County and Apex, so
You
that you can
can't.
see all of those. You can't filter for
You can't
two.
choose,
Yeah,
filter
it's
for
a
two
radio
areas at the
button.
same time.
And I'll check on that, but yeah.
I
Yeah.
bet that our GIS team can fix that.
Yeah. But yeah, like right now, if you select a municipality, you eliminate all the ones that say all of Wake County.
Right, and the main thing was, if they only service a small area, we didn't want everybody trying to call that one organization. So it's
Right.
almost like we service all the way, great. But guess what? We only service Apex, so that's really the only time you would need to filter for just Apex.
But no, if I'm using it and I'm a user and I'm an Apex, I don't care if you serve Wake Forest or Holly Springs, I care if you serve Apex. So if I go in to select and see who serves Apex, it only shows me those groups that only serve Apex, and it kicks out all of those other organizations that also serve Apex who happen to serve areas beyond Apex.
Right.
So if we've got 200 organizations that might provide services to Apex, but I select Apex, it only gives me a list of maybe 20.
So we need to fix that.
So basically, we need to ask for the GIS team to include all Wake County in each filter, programming wise.
Well, you should be able to check both boxes, basically, I guess.
I mean, I'm just thinking of like how people would use it. I mean, why would you select a municipality unless you're
Right.
looking to see if you receive services there, who provides service there? And if you have a whole category of people that provide service to that area that disappear when you select that area, then you're only getting a small portion of the actual service providers that you're trying to identify.
You're not able to use the tool to its full extent if you're getting cut off from being able to see what's available
I
with
think
both
I'll
options.
ask them to include all of Wake County and all of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I,
And Dr. Sturdivant, because this is only available in Wake Connect, this is only on the employee side, correct?
you click on what.
Correct. And outside,
This
like,
window down here.
families and outside partners receive information through the newsletter.
Correct, yes. So this is an internal use only tool for us to be more aware of what's out there and available. So like social workers, counselors, like they've been trained on how to use it, what to use it for. So yes, it's been a process to get people on board with using it. So it was twofold. Get your information in, and then here's how we'll use it as staff. So there's, the training that goes with how to use it.
Yeah, I clicked on Wake Forest for the service area, and then there was a dot that popped up in District 2. So that was kind of confusing.
So like the one in District 2 then probably serves all of Wake County, but also indicated when they filled out the form, each of the municipalities individually as well as all of Wake County. Or they just happen to be located in District 2 but only serve Wake Forest.
Oh, okay. Trying to make sense of it.
Yeah.
So just a few more things so you can just make sure you know all of the features. The list on the right-hand side indicates each organization, whether you filtered or not. So that tells you a little bit of details about that organization, the description, main contact. From there, you can click the name of the organization or the view icon to exit to go to their actual website. So we do make sure that everybody understands we're giving you just a snippet. There may be way more to this organization if you want to take a deeper dive. So we did kind of make that accessible for them to go see a little bit more about the organization by going directly to their website. So we talked about the filtering, the partnership list and all that it has to offer. The last thing I note is the download option. I do try to tell staff that it could be close to the end of the day. Maybe you have a really great filter and you really want to reach out to these organizations. You don't have to lose that considering the fact that you have to stay on the network to use it. You can actually download your list, your filtered list, and it will come out as a spreadsheet. So you're able to basically download and extract that data to then have your call list, keep track using that spreadsheet or whatever it is that you'd like to do. So that's just another great feature, so that people won't feel like I did all this research, I had this great filter, and then now I have to shut my computer down. You can kind of download and capture what you found in that moment.
Is the purpose for keeping it restricted to the, Wake Connect and only accessible on the network because of the partnership information?
Well, it was mainly just the need for the tool. In the moment when we were developing it, the need was for staff to be more aware of what's available. Like I mentioned, social workers, counselors, if you're looking for a specific resource for this specific family who has this current situation, we need to find these resources to really help them out. This was just a way to empower us as a staff to better understand what's out there. There's definitely a lot of conversation around what's a referral, what's a thing that we're marketing or supporting. So some of those things were considered. To what extent do we make this public that we're now saying this is the thing that you do? So in that moment, thinking about the strategic plan, what we wanted to do with family and community engagement, this tool was the necessary next step. Who's out there? Who do we need to engage to help bridge some of the gaps? That's where we were in that moment. Since then, we do have a family tab on our new website that features resources. So there are some resources there. They're not all of these. Another caveat was people are submitting their profile and saying, yes, I want you, Wake County, to know about my organization. So to what extent do we then market for them? All of those were conversations, and ultimately this tool was for us to be more informed to make those connections.
I'm going to ask a question. Is there a way for them to tweak it that Wake Forest and the Roseville, like for example, I'm just trying to click, you can't do more than one. If you go on one, you have to go off of the other. But it's in the same area, so if you can have both of them, you kind of understand. And like when I click on Wake Forest, it goes over to Wings District, rather than letting me see the whole area as a whole. And if you look at the shape of District 3 and how it fits into District 1, it's very oddly shaped. So it's taking, do you understand what I'm saying? So like there's a piece that comes up like a boot, but all the community around District 1 is in my area. So if I'm clicking on Wake Forest, it goes to District 3.
And when you say clicking on, you're saying through the filters?
Through the service area, yeah.
Okay.
So
Because
there's plenty of Wake Forest that is in District 1. So it's switching the information over to District 3 because I'm clicking on Wake Forest.
Okay.
Maybe we just have to problem solve with
Yes.
GIS on that.
And I guess I'm just wondering if you're trying to only view what's located there, using the zoom feature, zooming in and out just to look at the vicinity rather than the filter. Like filtering is specifically the organization saying this is all I'll service, or no, I won't service this, yes, I'll service that, to just see the location of what's where.
So I'm trying to see what's up in that area, like the whole Wake Forest, Roseville area, they're really kind of connected. But if I click on it, it takes me over to District 3, rather than understanding what's in my district. Do you
So
understand?
that's why I'm wondering if filtering is the best choice in that case. If you just want to see what's in that area, like I don't know that I would filter for that.
So then how do I tell what area I want to look at?
Like drag the map.
So I think it's actually trying to reset the filters.
all of this right here is Wake Forest.
That's right. So it is just showing you where the lines are, but these are what's marking partners. So honestly, what we need to do is get more partners from that section right
So
there.
these
The
are not-
intersection, those are,
That's
the
not-
books are libraries. So that's where 2 libraries are, because the Wake County Public Library asked to have them all marked, so that's what you see that. So like, actually, that's what we need to do, is more reach out and having partners there, because it's actually just not even showing that we have any.
So before it said I had
Places.
8 in my district.
So those are people who say they serve it versus where it's located. So when it's on the map, this is where the organization is based, as opposed to, they might be, that's what we were seeing earlier, they might be based in District 2, but they do say we serve Wake Forest.
So how do we tell, like, I know there's a Boys and Girls Club up there, but I don't see the dot.
Yes, that would mean they haven't entered their information to us. So that's where we need to do more
So they're just
outreach
not in
and
the database.
advertising to get even, I mean, 183 is a good number, but of course we know we have more partners than that.
Right.
So, yeah.
So
that
they're
would
just
be
not
exactly that
entered
example. That's right.
in here.
Yes. They haven't given us their information to be included. Yep.
So that's where it would be really good for us to be able to reach out through the towns and just say, this is an important piece to connect our families together.
Yep.
So in talking about our PDP goal as a board, I guess my question to the rest of the group is, how do you envision, I mean, I kind of have an insight onto like how we would use the community mapping initiative, but how would we use this to I guess, further our work on our PDP goal?
I really don't know.
So I see this as data that gives us information on where we need to concentrate on filling in those blanks. I see this as a way to plug in some of those holes so that we have a more solid ground and more of an understanding through trying to navigate, like we know the Boys and Girls Club are up in Wake Forest. So why are they not on our list? So what do we need to do to reach out to them to get them there so that they constantly have that collaboration with us too? So it might work for the community just as much as us.
Yeah, I'm
Or if that
interested
helps.
in like what types of barriers some of our like community resource folks or organizations are seeing or feeling in being a part of the community mapping initiative. Like, do they even know about it? That's why I think that's where my questions were coming from around, is this just on our side, and like how are we, or why are we not making this more like, hey, this is what we're doing, these are some of the benefits, like here's how we can have a, you know, a shared vision, mission, collaboration around schools in our area.
So to maybe help with that point, the chart that we had before where we're all going to work off of, maybe we speak to the partners about how we can better, or what was the difficulty in them knowing what would, or how did they find out? Because that'll help us narrow down how and where, either how we get them, how we are getting them, or where we're missing it. That's just a good data piece to have.
That was actually what I was going to think around my own professional goal, because I do communications anyway, so it'd be interesting to know more about how we're doing this kind of outreach and where we could be doing better.
Yeah, I was thinking about, I know we were talking about this being an internal thing, but, you know, would there be some benefit for sharing of ideas among groups, among organizations? You know, like, you know, if the 100 men have a great idea to implement, but it's more, you know, in the select community, can that concept be recreated in a different area? Or if there was verbalize need for something that in this particular community, can we match them to some other group that has something that to offer? You know? Do we have to be the intermediary for this?
It also may
I don't
just
think we
say-
have to be, but we certainly have the opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
It also could initiate thought on, if somebody has a service, they didn't realize like how they could work with the schools, to actually benefit them as well, so.
Well, we are coming up on our time. No. So I want to, make sure that we're honoring everyone's time. As far as next steps, Dr. Alfred Key, what are
Yes. So we have a few tweaks to make to the note-taking tool. We can make those tweaks. Then you've got your goal and your learning plan language. We've solidified that today. We can certainly send that back out so that everyone has the language we've solidified today. And then I would ask you all, what other next steps do you envision? How would you like, or, I guess you would need to have opportunity to get input of your counterparts and board leadership and everything. But I think that we have accomplished all of our desired outcomes for this meeting and would just ask, kind of from their perspective, what's next? Does it get shared back via email? Do you all have opportunity to share it at a work session? Or I believe those things are undefined. So within the next week, we'll have those cleanups done from a technical lens, and then we'll wait for you all to tell us how we can partner and be supportive of your goals.
I just want for clarification, so we would share with the rest of the board, and then the rest of the board individually, we would all come up with our own, individual goal.
Yes.
Okay.
That's my understanding. If there is a different way that you all think we should do it, we'll be happy to provide any other support, but that's how I understood it also.
Yes.
Mhm.
Then I think we should, given the changes that will be made, I would find it appropriate to probably bring this back to a work session. Because I think we're at a
Yeah.
point to where we don't necessarily need another meeting with the committee.
If it's something that all board members need to develop goals,
Yeah.
you probably need to do it in the work session when you can guarantee they'll all be here.
Okay. Okay. Well, I think we're good to go.
There you go.
All right. This meeting is now adjourned.
Thank you.
On time. Thank you, Dr. Sturdivant. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, Dr. Ng. I went looking for my charger. I was like, oh, this.
I always carry a suitcase.